Hello, man babies. Oh, sorry, that's somebody else's greeting. Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. Can you believe it? May 25th, the day Star Wars was originally released back, can you believe it, 1977. My God. I'm Mr. Brown, and we are back today on the channel with the usual Star Wars experts, including the Trilogy King himself. Including the Trilogy King himself, the man who knows about trilogies, the trilogy of trilogies, apparently. So, you'll have to excuse the nerves. I'm a little bit nervous, always nervous with the camera, and always nervous when we've got amazing guests. It just kind of takes the channel up a little bit lower from the position it's in. So I hope we all find you very well today. We are celebrating the official day of Star Wars. We did celebrate it the other week, but that was the unofficial. One of our guests was on then. But today, yes, it's the official Star Wars Day, as I said, May the 25th. So we're going to talk bollocks. It's going to be a proper talking bollocks session today. And as I always say on our volumes, when you talk shite, you need people who can step up to the plate. So, again, we've got them. Shall we bring the guests in, ladies and peeps? Let's do it. First off, one of the very, very best Star Wars shills in the business, all the way live from Las Vegas with his brand new Blue Yeti mic. All the brands available. We have the wonderful, not Brian Young.
Hey,
Hello.
This is Brian Young, coming to you live from Ryan Johnson's colon.
What's the view like?
Grim. I'm wearing 8 COVID masks, so I hope you can hear me.
We can indeed. It sounds very cavernous.
Well, there's been a few people up here before me.
Mainly KK, I suppose.
Well, let's not let's not think about that. But there's a few others. ALG.
Okay.
ALG's still here. Hi, Adam.
Okay. Okay, talking about making life hell for a presenter, making him think fast off his feet. You okay then, Brian? Yes?
Yeah, all good. All good.
You're looking forward to this, my friend?
I'm indeed. I've not been so excited since the last time Ryan Johnson liked one of my tweets, so I'm delighted to be here, and thanks for the invite.
I know, he's the man. The mic is sounding wonderful, mate. So welcome.
Superb.
Good to have you on board, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, cheers.
Okay, next up, he's the Jester from Leicester, the channel's very own painter and decorator, novelist, massive Star Wars fan, the great Demonsycthe Synthwave, or as we call him on the channel, Swap Shop. Here we go. Hello.
Well, hello there, and thank you very much for getting my name right for the first time ever.
Did I?
No, you've got it right before, but I just thought I know it's not easy.
Oh dear, I think it's going to be one of them shows tonight. I think the guests are trying to make my life a misery, but yes, we will. I will fight through it. Are you okay, my friend?
I'm actually doing all right, considering I only had about 4 hours sleep last night. It's been a busy day today, math study, you name it. I've been doing it. It's been hectic, and it's nice to sit down with you guys, wind down, and hopefully not fall asleep. How can I fall asleep with such amazing company?
Yes, buzzing, buzzy. Shall we get the next guest on?
Please do, before I get a pot of coffee and end up suffering from laxative overdose.
Okay, next up, the wise elder of the channel, the writer, the producer, the director, and fully paid up member of the Selfridges Appreciation Society. Here he is, the great MegaGeek himself, Ian David Diaz.
Hello, everybody. How are we
You all
guys
right?
doing today? Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, we're
I'm
good.
fine. Yeah, today's Star Wars Day, so may the force be with all of you.
Yeah, happy Star Wars birthday anniversary day.
Yep. It's going to be a good one.
It is. We've got the guests. We've got the guests for this one.
Mm.
Okay, so this is the big one. Next up, first time on the channel, royalty is here, ladies and gentlemen. Hollywood screenwriter, director, novelist, and the go-to YouTuber, the amazing, I'll say it again, the amazing Kamran Pasha. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's the nicest introduction I've ever gotten in my life. And I thank you for that. I'm going to remember that.
I'm getting really confused right now because you said Cameron and then we've got Mr. Diaz, and I'm just getting really confused. And I keep thinking, is she going to show up or not?
No, I'm okay to switch out for her. It's okay. No problem with that.
Are you well, sir?
I'm very well. I'm here in lovely Los Angeles, which is now lovely again because the masks are off. The masks are off in Santa Monica. 99.9% of people are walking around with their faces visible again, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's
Fantastic.
Beautiful. I didn't think things would start returning normal in California for maybe another year, and it's accelerated. I'm very happy for that.
In Blighty, it has been raining for the past 8 months.
Wow.
Can you believe it? It's May and it's like autumn. It's just so depressing.
Well, you know, I studied in the UK. I studied in Scotland, actually. I was I was a student at the University of Edinburgh for a while.
UK.
And so
4 seasons in May.
So they certainly had. I was there, met some very early Scottish separatists in the 1990s. So yeah, I love the UK. You guys went through a rough period. I hope it gets better.
Edinburgh is such a beautiful place.
One of my favorite places. Magical.
It is. It's fantastic. Are you? I know you can't stop very long, but are you up for this? A little bit of Star Wars talk here?
Absolutely. And for those who are watching, I have to hop actually within about 10 minutes because I actually have a meeting that I have to go to with one of the studios, online meeting. So hopefully that's going to last about half an hour. If the stream is still coming, I'm be delighted to jump back.
It'll be on. Okay, so we'll get our last guest on, the main man himself.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Last but not least, 4th time on the channel is like the bad penny, the Hollywood legend you need on your side when going into battle, writing a trilogy. Here he is, live from Kathy's Knocking Shop somewhere in Hollywood. The man baby himself. Here we go. The man baby himself. Ruin Trilogy King Johansson.
Hello, man babies. Hello. How are we doing? And of course, happy Star Wars Day to infinity and beyond.
Are you well?
I'm surprised you didn't get this into your epic masterpiece. I'm surprised you forgot. Maybe you cut it out.
Well, you know, there's only so much piss one can take, and I do try my best.
You're very good at it, to be fair.
The viewers are watching. This is the first time I've ever actually met Ruin the Man Baby, even though we've been following each other. I've been following him a lot longer. You know, as I was telling Ruin before we came online, I have been a huge fan since the earliest days of his appearance when he was a mysterious unknown individual like Charlie from Charlie's Angels, right? And I'm fanboying here to actually be on the screen with my hero.
Maybe you two should get a room.
Thank you, Kamran. Well, obviously, you know, being the big director I am, lots of fans, can't keep track of them all, but I do appreciate it, Kamran, and your tickets to Galaxy's Edge are in the mail.
Shall I say, I'll just say hello to some of the peeps in the chat. We've got Shadow Man, P-Cat, hello P-Cat, Cruel Birab, Yatsistphobe, hello Rob, Cockney, Captain Cockney Spot, hello mate, Shadow Man, who else have we got? 6. I do like that, 6. Who else we got?
Hello, 6.
We've got StreamYard in the chat.
That's how many
6.
Star Wars movies I'm going to make.
So, guys, where do you want to start? Do you want to there was a little bit of Doomcock news before we came on, but shall we kind of save that for later if Kamran comes back?
Yeah, I hadn't seen the news, so I'm happy to. When I switch off, I'll come back and find out what it was and discuss it with you guys.
Yeah, Doomcock dropped one of his big videos today. So, so we'll just go into the Star Wars stuff, yes? So my notes say Star Wars discuss ... Who wants to go first? Kamran, do you want to go first?
Well, it's fascinating that we are here now. How many decades later? What is it now? 45 years since the original Star Wars premiered, and the very fact of we are here, and we even survived Ruin's effort to reimagine it, and it actually, in many ways, it was the catalyst to bring us all together. He did us a favor, whether you liked it or not, Ruin. You did us a favor. You created a community. May not be in the community you expected, but you created one, and here we are, fighting for what we believe in because of you, Ruin. Thank you.
Well, I like to piss off half the fans and make the other half really fucking angry. So I like to think I've achieved my objective. Apologies for the F-bomb. We are past the watershed in the UK, but
in the UK, yes, not Los Angeles, though. Be careful.
Apologies, Los Angeles. I may have dropped one.
Of course, you shedded bodily water all over the franchise as well, which was very nice.
Exactly.
Kamran, I've asked the guests on previous streams before, so we obviously this is the first time you've been on. Basically, the question I ask is, what was your first experience of Star Wars?
Sure. Well, the first time I saw Star Wars in the theater was actually Return of the Jedi, which remains my favorite film because it's the first time I experienced it in the theater. Regrettably, it wasn't Ruin's masterpiece, but Return of the Jedi has that power over me. But I was aware, as a child, I was aware of Star Wars before that, just because it was playing on television, right? So I had seen I'd seen Empire Strikes Back on television, and that was actually the first movie I think I saw A New Hope last of all of them in the order. It's interesting. But as a kid, when I first saw Empire Strikes Back on television in the early 80s, I fell in love with the world, and I went out and I was getting all my toys. I was getting the early lightsabers that didn't even glow. They were just a yellow stick, and I loved it. I had all my...
I think I put those.
Yeah, and I had my Luke Skywalker toys. And it actually, the man I am today, or at least professionally, was guided by that, because I would spend my time alone as a child playing with my Star Wars figurines, and the pieces, and create entire movies out of them. And I would... to create entire other, movies, my sort of fan fiction. And I must have been 8 or 9 years old. And here I am now to do this professionally. And that was how I got into the actual storytelling. It was because of Star Wars. That's why it is so important to me personally. And that's why I was very emotional when Ruin did his version of it, which was very different than what had been built. Because it wasn't just a movie for me. People say it's a movie, get over it. It wasn't a movie. It got me through a very difficult childhood and made me the man I am today, and made me the storyteller I am today. So, this is something that's very important to me. That's why I speak out, even though I'm a decently active person in the industry as a screenwriter. People know who I am. I'm actually working, and most of them will not publicly come out and say this. But over the last several years, all I can say is that privately, screenwriters who are much more famous than me, who I know, will say, man, Ruin really ruined it for me, and I don't know what they were doing, and it is the private thing, because he's such an important figure in the industry right now that people publicly won't critique, but privately it caused a lot of uproar among screenwriters who were like me, or like, these movies made us who we are, and now where's the industry going with it? And so by going out publicly, I'm trying to speak for a lot of the people in the industry who share this opinion, but can't say it professionally.
It's an excellent point, Kamran, and I like to take I am open to criticism, you should know this, but I like to take the Kim Jong-un approach to criticism. It's welcome, but don't expect to wake up the next day. So
yeah, you got whatever, anti-aircraft missiles to firing squad by anti-aircraft missile. That's what happens. Yeah.
Yes, bombs with gravity. I've been there, done it. Not a problem.
So, Kamran, do you feel with obviously you said Last Jedi was kind of like a turning point.
It was a wake-up call for me. I mean, and I've said this before, I was very excited because I was a fan of Ruin before. I'd liked his earlier film, you know, and I'd enjoyed it, and I was excited to see what he was going to do with this. And within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, what the hell's happening here? It started with a Yo Mama joke. I said something is very wrong.
Yeah.
I felt something in my stomach turn.
Yeah.
I said this isn't Star Wars. What is this? And then when Luke threw his saber, I was like, my God, they're actually going to do this. And I knew what they were doing. They were subverting expectations, which is a phrase I'd heard a lot in the industry increasingly over the past several years as I started watching this sort of political ideology really start dominating storytelling in the writers' rooms I'd worked on. Before, there was always some loudmouth saying, well, you got to make sure it's all diverse, whatever, you know, person who himself is not particularly interested in diversity in his real life, but got to make it in the story, right? But now I'd say, this is what they're doing. This is what they're going to do with this. And by the end of the movie, I was so horrified, I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed up all night because I was replaying my childhood memories of playing with the toys and saying, they're going to destroy this. They're going to destroy this. My industry is going to destroy this thing. And I was angry, and I felt alone, and I spent several weeks hunting on the internet trying to see if I'm the only person, because everyone in the industry was saying, oh, this is a work of genius. I was like, I don't think it is. And then I started finding accounts like Ruin the Man Baby and others beginning to talk about it. And somebody said, I'm not alone. And this is where we are today.
I think a lot of people, especially the kind of uninitiated, watched the film, myself included, and didn't understand the extra level to it, which you've just described.
Well, it was intentional subversion in the sense, and I don't like that phrase, and I get very, very agitated when other writers use it, because I believe not in subverting, I believe in surprising the audience. It's a different energy. Subversion is taking their hopes and their desires and thwarting them. It's an act of arrogance. It's an act of contempt for the audience. Surprise is what we get in The Empire Strikes Back when, no, I am your father. That's a surprise, right? And Vader picking up Palpatine and throwing him in the Death Star reactor is a surprise. It lifts you up. It gives you what you didn't know you wanted, but you really did, right? And that's what the storytelling I want. And this kind of subversion thing has always ruined everything. It comes from an arrogant place of contempt, and that's what I felt when I watched that film.
In a timescale, where did all this subversion stuff start, would you say?
I mean, it really accelerated in the last 10 years. People are always sort of saying their political stuff in the industry all the time, whatever. But at the end of the day, they just wanted to make money, and so they kept some of it hidden. But the pivotal event, in my opinion, and we don't have to get political on this channel, but the pivotal event was the election of Mr. Trump, because that was a shockwave through the industry. And a lot of people felt in the industry that they had lost control of narratives that had allowed this situation to happen. So they had then decided to be very aggressive with certain narratives because they felt that the audience needed to be re-educated if they allowed this to happen, because the subtle sort of progressive storytelling had somehow not made people do the right thing in 2016. So now they had to get very, very aggressive. And of course, Ruin's masterpiece comes out shortly thereafter. And I absolutely believe it was influenced by those political things. I don't think if Mr. Trump had been elected, that Ruin would have been instructed to go down that path.
I'd just like to ask Kamran quickly, if I may.
Yes, then I have to offer a few minutes, but yes, please.
Yeah, it's got to be a quick one. What you said about Trump and subversion and how it's been happening over the last decade. Do you think that the super popular show Game of Thrones, that have been going for quite a long time, and particularly an episode called The Red Wedding, had anything to do with the direction that Rian Johnson took the Star Wars movies in, or took his film in? Because I kind of got the impression that someone had been watching a little bit too much subversion elsewhere and thought, that's what we need in Star Wars.
It definitely had an influence. There was a period when I was seeing my friends were giving me screenplays which had all this inappropriate incest stuff that came out of nowhere. I was like, well, it's working on Game of Thrones. I'm like, yeah, but those aren't the heroes. And even the people on the show don't like the fact that Cersei's having it, and her father is disgusted by it, right? Why? But they started promoting this kind of crap, right? And it was just, and they thought this was good storytelling. There were a lot of factors into Game of Thrones' success. A lot of it was a well done show, at least for the first earlier seasons, and then it declined when the storytelling had to be made up on the spot. But it had that influence. But I do believe it was more about national politics than about that. So, gentlemen, I apologize. I have to hop in 2 minutes. I have a call with the studio for a project. So, but I'm going to be hopefully back within about half an hour, and then I'd love to talk more.
Okay. Now that you're gone, we'll start talking about you. So, cheers, Cameron.
Gentlemen, I'll be back hopefully very shortly. Thank you.
Take care.
Cameron.
See you in a bit, mate. Bye-bye.
Who the hell invited that man baby on? He's done nothing but slag my goddamn film. I have to sit here. I've listened to all this bullshit. What's going on?
Oh, mate. Talk about lowering the tone. Jesus Christ.
Interesting.
My God.
Said, very interesting.
Do you have any thoughts about that, Ian? It was very interesting, to be fair.
No, I saw. Do you ever, anybody see Film Courage? There's a channel on YouTube called Film Courage.
No, I haven't.
And basically they talk to screenwriters and directors that you don't know, screenwriters that you don't know. They talk about the craft of screenwriting, this, that, the other. And one of the episodes they were talking to this guy about screenwriting today, and this is one of the latest ones. And he went off on Star Wars and how Hollywood has changed and da-da-da. And everything he was saying was perfect, absolutely perfect what's going on. And at the ending of Film Courage, they put that thing so they weren't connected to him, which I thought was really cowardly. That's his opinion. This is not the opinion of the channel, blah, blah, blah. And they've never done that before. And I just thought that was so cowardly of them, to separate themselves from what this screenwriter was saying. And I've never watched Film Courage again from that point. So there you go.
But I didn't subscribe when you suggested it in that case.
Well, I didn't subscribe, and it's just, I guess a lot of stuff is quite nice, but this one really pissed me off because they didn't have any. I guess they needed to do it, but still, just goes to show how cowardly people are in Hollywood now. Anyway,
I think there's a lot of kind of covering our own asses about. And,
yes.
Hollywood's very two-faced, like Ryan himself, as we all know, behind the mask.
Yeah,
he's not.
He needs to wear a better one.
I literally have two faces. It's kind of appropriate. But Mr. Brown, I have a very pertinent question from P-Cat in the chat. Can we
Here we go.
Can we pull that one up? Here we go.
Question
Here
for
we
Lewin.
go.
What would have been your twist in Empire with Vader / Luke relationship reveal? Question mark.
Well, I have to say, Lucas got this all wrong. There was a much better way of doing it, and I'm very happy to share my thoughts on how I would have
Please do.
brought my twist into that particular movie. Okay, so picture the scene. They are on the platform, and Luke has just lost his hand, and Vader is approaching him, and the music swells, and then we hear those immortal words, Luke. And Luke looks up. What can it be? The audience edges forward on their seats. Silence in the air. There's gasps. Luke, I'm
Was it
gay.
your wanking hand?
That's the reveal. Darth Vader comes out there and then to his son and announces his newfound homosexuality. And I think that would have been a fabulous moment for Star Wars. He could have ignited his rainbow lightsaber. And what a wonderful moment. I just think there was a lost opportunity there. And hopefully I'll put that wrong right in one of my future films.
Like Empire Strikes Back ruined.
It would have been years ahead of the curve writing such stuff. Moving on.
Well, JJ beat me to it in that shitty final film where he had that lesbian kiss. So I do feel slightly annoyed that he beat me to that one. But anyway, shout out to the LBGT community.
Sorry.
Did you
Matt,
see the Lego?
Sorry, Matt. Can you hear me?
I can.
That's the
Yes.
poster. That's the poster I thought it was a musical. When my brother wanted to
Yeah,
take
yeah.
it.
They're all
That's what it's poster. I thought it was a
Beautiful.
musical.
I will say thanks for Doomcock for posting this on Twitter literally 10 minutes before we came on. So it means I didn't have to troll through the internet finding it. So Cheers, Doomcock. Okay, so I will ask the question again then. Your first time exposure to Star Wars. So what we'll do is I'll just work down the line from top to bottom. So, Brian, first time you saw Star Wars, and what did it mean to you?
The first experience I had was a great uncle of mine gave me the Star Wars storybook. And so I saw it was before the doesn't blood.
Yeah, it does. Sorry, carry on.
There's a host of special effects I can use on this, but I'll leave it out for tonight. But yeah, the Star Wars storybook was the first experience I had. That picture on the back of Darth Vader before I even knew anything about it was just, it kind of blew me away. When I've only been about 4 or 5. It gave me about 4 million nightmares since, but I've enjoyed every one. I didn't see the films until a good few years later on, which is a bit strange. But for me, especially, I think for most of the guys here, if they were about in the early 80s, the toys and all the merchandise it was more than the films, almost in a way.
Yeah, especially with the merch. I don't think we'd ever seen anything like that before, have we?
It's kind of a hard kind of thing to explain to newer generations of fans that, what it was like then.
Not for me, 'cause I'm an old bastard, so
he is an old
what you're talking about.
He is an old bastard. So, what year would you say you first saw Star Wars? I assume it would have been on the old, as we say on the channel, the old VHS days.
I think I probably actually would have seen it either on the television or at school. I certainly remember seeing Empire probably in about 1984, and that was in school on the old 4x3 with 200 other kids and kids being sick and all sorts. It wasn't the best cinematic experience, but certainly through the years, and especially I think since '97 when the films were re-released, kind of took on a whole new significance. You think of some of the lines that Yoda has.
Did you make the effort to go see the re-releases in the cinema?
To my eternal shame, I really didn't. I was, at that point, I was so into football and getting drunk that I didn't look at it at all. And I feel sick. I've since been to the the orchestral stuff recently, trying to see it almost as if it was back in the cinema. But I regret it so much, really do.
Fucked up, mate.
It was. I made up for it when the prequels came out. I wasn't as much as the real Brian. I think he saw it about 20 times each film, but I certainly put in the hours then.
Yeah. And which is your favourite film of the 3?
Such a hard question, that. I'm going to have to say Empire, but each film has got its own special place in my heart. Star Wars, obviously, the original just was the one that set it off, and it's probably the better self-contained story, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so
it's going to have to be Empire.
Okay. Swap Shop, first experience. Do you want to tell us again?
The first time the earliest age where I was fully penetrated by the Force was
easy.
I was about 5, maybe even 4. Saw the commercial on TV for it, the trailer, and then had the magazine of the movie. And this image that we've got on the screen at the moment was on the front cover of that magazine.
Yeah.
I remember just looking at the magazine and thinking, like, what is this? What are those ships? What's that gigantic ball thing? Who are these?
Hildebrand.
Yeah, why is he in pajamas? And he's got a massive shiny helmet. Oh my God, I've got to do this thing.
Has he? Are you sure you're looking at Star Wars?
No, hang on a minute.
It's not something else.
No. Oh God, no. All right, we're on this. Okay. So, and unlike Ian, I didn't think it was a musical. I can totally understand why he thinks it might be like a film or stage play with the Bee Gees soundtrack to it.
Yeah, it does a little bit. Yeah.
Or maybe ABBA, probably ABBA actually.
On a dance floor far away.
Yeah, it does look a bit disco, doesn't it? Anyway,
it does.
Yeah. There's a disco ball hanging right up there, obviously, and there's all the stars rotating around the disco hall there, and these guys are wearing their loose 70s flary outfits. So yeah, I can totally understand why he might think it's a bit, in that of that persuasion. So I saw all the memorabilia and everything for this film without seeing the film, and by the my my excitement was at fever pitch because I had no idea what this film was about. And when I actually did go to the cinema for my birthday in 78, I think it was. So because we got it late, we got it later than 77 in the UK.
Yeah,
I think it was for my 5th birthday, and so that was 44 years ago today.
Jeez,
to this very day. And I was 5 years old with the attention span of a gnat's arse.
A gnat.
And I honestly, I may have had the attention span of a gnat's arse, but I never looked away from the screen. I was that absorbed by it. I was taken literally transported into another universe. And, you know, when the movie was over, I was transported back, but my brain wasn't.
It's reality.
Yeah, my brain is still in that universe. My body may be here, but my brain's still in that galaxy far, far away.
And you have never been the same since, have you?
No, but they do let me out sometimes for the odd open day to wander around town, as long as I'm back by a certain time.
And I will say, before I forget, it's your birthday, isn't it?
It is today, indeed.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Demon.
Happy birthday.
Birthday, Matt.
You
Don't do it.
man, baby.
Happy birthday, man, baby.
Man, baby.
Happy
birthday,
birthday, dear man, baby.
Man, baby.
Well, I've just cringed myself into a ball.
Happy birthday, mate.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, everybody. No, I really do appreciate that. There's no better way of spending the evening of your birthday with some rather wonderful people that you admire, and also a prick right at the bottom of the screen who ruined Star Wars.
No, not the top. Not the top.
Well, I've ruined everything else. I might as well ruin your birthday as well.
The prick at the top and the prick at the bottom. You're in a prick sandwich, mate.
Triple layered prick sandwich.
Yum, yum. Yum, yum. MegaGeek, first experience.
The first experience I had of Star Wars was my brother telling me about it, saying that there's this film called Star Wars that we should go and see. And as I said, I saw the poster. It's not a good story.
It's a good story.
I saw the poster. My brother showed me the poster with that poster there, and I thought it was a musical. So I said to him, I don't want to go and see a musical, because look, let's face it. If you look at that poster carefully, right, there's a disco ball, yeah, right, yeah. And this girl's in a dress that she's like Friday night dress she's going out with.
Yes.
This
no
guy,
shoes. It's got to be the walk of shame, hasn't it? No shoes, look.
Yeah, exactly. And so this guy here looks like he's doing a John Travolta pose. I don't understand the ships. Maybe that was, something else. And I didn't understand the mask. But you can see why I thought it was a musical. For God's
the Saturday Night Live poster
got a blowtorch
with John Travolta on it, with a white suit, and he's got his finger pointing in the air. Right on the tip of his finger, there's a little star. Right, so I totally get the parallel you're making right here now.
So I thought it was a musical. My brother was like, "It's not a musical." And I said, "Well, it looks pretty lame." And so he said, "No, come, let's go and see Star Wars." So he convinced me, and I saw it in Dominion. I don't know if you know London. The Dominion now is a theatre. They showed We Will Rock You there.
Oh, right, okay. Wow.
And so I don't know if it's there or not. I think it's been knocked down or something, or whatever. Anyway, when we got there, the queue was around the block. So we queued up right at the end.
Wow.
And as I said before in the previous live stream, I kid you not, there were police on horseback keeping the audience, keeping the queue off the street.
Not the band.
No. Yeah, so they were using like functions to push the queue off the road and onto the pavement.
Don't stand so close to me, yeah.
And then I basically stood in the queue for 3 hours. And when I got in, I was amazed what I saw, because
were you when you got in, were you walking on the moon?
Okay, I'll just ignore these bad
Moving
jokes
on.
and just keep going. So when I got there, I didn't know what to expect, because normally I see films.
Where's the dancing?
Yeah, exactly. In the Flea Pit cinema, which is cinemas down where I live, the crappy cinemas, and the screens were small. So when I got there, the screen was huge, and then the curtains opened, and then this big ship flew over, and I was just taken aback by the film.
You were gone.
I was gone. I was well immersed into the world of Star Wars. So yeah,
that was 1977. Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think it got. I can't remember what day it got released in England. Whether it was a Thursday or Friday, because usually films came out Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
I think we went on the second day. We didn't realize. My brother didn't realize how big it was going to be. You know how big the film was going to be.
Probably nobody
So,
did.
yeah, it's absolutely. Actually, I think the reports are coming in from America. It was big. I think that's why Chris, decided to take me. But yeah, I mean, Chris, my big brother introduced me to comics, introduced me to Star Wars, introduced me to all kinds of really cool stuff. Because my brother Chris is more of a geek than me. So
I
there you go.
think if memory serves me correctly, there was a buzz about it on. I remember kind of watching it on the TV, on the news,
Mm.
that they were going mad for it. So yeah, I think that's probably, I think we knew from the news reports that it was going to be big when ITN or BBC starts mentioning it. Ruin, first experience of Star Wars. Do you want to do it without the mask or with? Or
I have
both?
no idea what you're referring to. This is me. How goddamn dare you? I'd just like to say hello to my better half, Francesca. Sending my love. She's watching while she's at work in the hotel, and she's
Hail.
tuning in. I'm sure I'm doing her proud and not completely embarrassing her. But yes, may the force be with you, Francesca. I love you almost as much as Kathleen Kennedy. But anyway, back to Star Wars, and indeed, let me shed this this goddamn. That's much better. Okay, I can speak as me now. Yeah, so I was actually born when the year the first Star Wars come out, so it was my first memory, even though the movies were knocking around. Obviously, I was quite young, but it was Return of the Jedi, because that kind of hit me at round about the right age. I was around about 6, and it could have been the first one I watched as well, actually. So I kind of watched them out of order, but yeah, and for that reason, it was my favorite. And I know if we're being critical and technical, it's not the best of the originals, but it just got me at that age, and I love the whole Jabba the Hutt, Han Solo rescue. Look, as a kid, as a 6-year-old, I even like the Ewok stuff. I know it gets slated now, but yeah, I love it. Was just good fun, and the whole Endor scene. I loved it. So to this day, it remains my favorite. Also, dare I say, we actually had Luke as a kick-ass Jedi, and
we did. Wow.
We did.
Sadly, never to be seen again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine.
Well, apart from the Mandalorian, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
We had to have him in digital form, but
yeah, exactly.
I'd just like to highlight what PCAT said a few minutes back, and that was there's a project for Ruin, I think, in a Star Wars musical, because if he's not going to get his trilogy, maybe you can turn it into a stage show and make it as gay and as camp and as LGBTQXYZ as you can possibly make it.
MegaGeek could produce it.
No,
There
thanks.
you go.
Go full circle.
What is it with the diversity talk? It's everywhere. I was just watching. My brother was watching sports just a minute ago, and this black woman was talking about golf and diversity. It's like, you've got to have diversity in golf. I'm like, what the frig is she talking about? It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
In golf, I love it.
Well, this is the thing. If you just approach things normally, you'll naturally have diversity.
Yeah.
And take tonight as an example. I'm sure when Mr. Brown was putting the lineup up, he wasn't thinking of covering, this country and this race or this religion. But naturally, we've got a guy dialing from America.
Channel, there you go.
Yeah, a camera believes a Muslim chap. We've got someone from Scotland. We've got all kinds of backgrounds. And I had it when I did my podcast series. You don't have to force these things; they'll happen naturally. It's when people overthink it, and it's just so bloody obvious, isn't it? When it's everything feels like a
when they try to
Colours of
yeah, when they
Benetton
try to
advert.
show it on TV, they make matters worse. You know,
BBC's
before
terrible.
when I used to see an advert with a black guy and a you know, married to a white woman talking about washing powder, it was fine. But now, because of everything that's happening, when you see it, you kind of cringe now. You kind of go,
I know.
"Oh."
Every advert on TV now, it's just like every ad has got to be diverse. You cannot have an ad with a white person in it anymore. It's just the most diverse commercials I've ever seen in my entire life. You ever sit down and watch YouTube and there's the ads pop up? Every
Yeah.
single one. I've got like a little tally chart that I'm marking off about which ones are diverse and which ones aren't. And at the moment, the ones that aren't diverse, 0.
Obviously, back in the day, the adverts would go "wash is whiter." How do they get round that now?
I don't know.
God.
Or she's blacker, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Imagine it. That'd be
I don't
great.
think it'd sell very well.
Oh dear.
Your white,
just-
wash
I don't
blacker.
understand. I really don't understand what's going on. This world's gone crazy.
The
Gone crazy.
BBC are terrible for it.
Yeah.
They're in trouble now,
yeah.
though, aren't they? About Princess Di and all that. They're really in trouble now, the BBC. Oh my
Um,
God.
in the chat, Francesca, lol.
Raylia? I think it's Raylia.
There she is.
I would
got
say for Mr. Brown, get your tongue around that, but that would be highly inappropriate of me. And since we've got a female in the audience, you know, I
chance
won't,
will be a fine thing.
I won't say
Before we get any more dirty goddamn jokes, that is my better half. So keep it clean.
Oh dear. Yeah.
I will say
I
to
just-
Francesca, have you got any dirt on it?
Dirt
We
on
need to
Rune
know.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in washed
You
underwear.
know, mainly the private stuff. You know, there's nobody watching, so you can pop it in the chat. There's nobody watching, don't worry. So yeah, just a bit of dirt, just to make him squirm a little bit. Would be good. So,
Well, if she dares to do that, I will reveal to
Go on.
everyone how she asked me to wear the mask in the bedroom because that would be embarrassing to reveal.
No,
That's
she's lost my
crazy.
respect. She's
That's
lost my
crazy.
respect.
It takes a lot
Brian,
of
what do you
shocking,
think
but I
about
think you've done. Yeah, sorry.
Brian, what do you think about that? It's disgusting, isn't it?
It is. I think Brian would have a semi though thinking about that, but I'm just that's only because that's all they can manage.
But you know what, right? As I was saying before, isn't KK? Well, she probably doesn't give a shit.
There is news on the KK front. by the way.
KK, right? She's going to be known as the person that destroyed Star Wars when history
Well, the legacy.
goes forward.
Yeah.
It is cruel.
How is she? How is she all right with any of this?
Probably
I
because she will be
don't
a hero
understand
among
it.
her own type. Her
Yeah,
own type will be delighted with the fact that she's done and what she's done to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
You know, the
but
kind of people that go into a barber shop and
the problem with that is
ask why they don't cut girls' hair. Those kind of people.
the thing is, though, in Hollywood, and I've been there a lot of times, they're in their own bubble. They don't realize what's going on in the rest of the world. You should have seen the Oscars this year. It was ridiculous. I didn't see all of it.
well,
I saw
nobody
clips
did.
on YouTube.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah. Well, a million people saw it apparently. But what I'm saying is that you should hear what they were saying. I cannot believe they don't know what's happening in the real world, and they don't realize how cheesy they've all become. You know, I just don't understand how they can not know that. Anyway.
You think it's even cheesy?
Yeah, you should hear
Cheesy?
what some of them
No.
said. You
Oh,
should hear
okay.
what some of them said. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, they literally think they're trying to change the world when all they're doing is making us cringe. That's all they're doing. You know. Oh,
Yeah, it's just.
Hollywood
They
used to
are
be
in the-
so much better. Well, not really, but hey. But yeah, I don't know.
I can't pretend to understand what's going on.
Yeah, nor can I.
Obviously, money talks.
PCAT has had a fabulous idea, by the way.
What's that?
Time to change the Oscars to the ruins. What a
They have
great idea.
That would be that'd be the rival for the raspberries, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Have you
Hey,
Ruin?
Lord.
Did you win a raspberry?
I'm
You're so
not
arrogant,
sure,
you don't
actually.
even know, do you?
No, they would not. They would not dare give him a raspberry. 'Cause
No.
it's Hollywood, isn't it? If they did, you know, they're all scared of doing things positively. or fighting against the system. They're all scared, all of them.
We
I know
made
a lot of
sure they
people
were
in
well
LA that are
paid off.
scared. Yeah, well, yeah, that too. But I know a lot of people that are scared and scared to talk out as well. You see that interview with sorry, where am I going? Gina Carano, when she was saying that she went to a party once and one of her friends were literally saying, "I agree with you," but they were whispering it in their own house.
Yeah,
that's how bad it's gotten. That's how bad it's gotten. Jeez.
I don't understand. Go back to what Cameron said about this Trump stuff.
Well, we're not American, so we wouldn't understand it. Really.
Yeah, I know. We've said on the channel, and Matt will agree with me with this. We have Commander Culture comes on here, and he's American, and we were saying that, yeah, Trump made mistakes towards the end, but how much stability and, well, basically, how much stability to the world did he bring? Because effectively, he was basically a businessman, and he totally upset the left and right wings of, the parties over there. So why were the Americans so dead?
I think it's more than that, though. I think it all had to do with I think, as far as I can see, because I'm probably not right, it all started with Harvey Weinstein, didn't it? That's where it all started, and then that guy got killed. Black Lives Matters, and everybody thought it was about diversity, and then all these rich women took over, and now it's all about the feminine agenda in Hollywood. So it's kind of changed.
J.J. Abrams' crew, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm probably wrong. People in Hollywood would know how it starts.
Ruin, have you settled your differences with JJ yet?
God, I'm JJ. Had to go one better and make a shittier movie than The Last Jedi. I'm very, very annoyed at that. But I've just realised I'm doing the voice without the mask on. I feel completely weird.
You've been rumbled, mate.
Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, it's good that we talked about, reminisced about original Star Wars, because I know it's so easy to tear the sequels to shreds. But yeah, I noticed in Doomcock's tweet where he tweeted this actual poster, and he kind of still held hope. He said maybe, hopefully, one day Star Wars can be saved. But I hope so too. But the more people I speak to of kind of our generation, I speak of a few of us maybe, but the real hardcore fans grew up with it, been fans for decades. I'm seeing more and more just kind of just not bothered anymore, and it's really sad to see. It
is. It's very sad to see, and the fact that they have actually excommunicated the real fans and literally aiming for people that they think are fans. That's what they're doing, and they're I don't know any kid, and I'm not married and I don't have kids, but I know I've got a lot. My family's huge, so I've got a lot of sisters and they have kids. And when I mention Star Wars, they don't even know what it is. In fact, I took my nieces to see The Last Jedi and the what is it, the other one, which I can't remember.
Yeah, we'll just call it the other one.
Yeah, they just went, it was all right. I mean, they weren't blown away. They weren't blown away by it. I think the last film my nieces were blown away by was Endgame, but that was But Star Wars, if I said I wasn't taking them, they wouldn't have kicked up a fuss. That's what it's come to now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They must have been really naughty to have punished them in such a brutal way.
yeah. But they didn't ask. I just said, "Do you want to go and see Star Wars?" And they went, "Okay." And I took them, and they just watched it. That's that.
Wintrell in the in the chat says Hollywood / left ideology hated Trump so much they would change their narrative to generate negative content. The casualty is popular movies being rewritten to brainwash. Yahtzeistophobe in the chat says, why do you hate your nieces?
I don't hate them. I love them, but they always take them to the cinema. But you know, when I took them to see Endgame, my niece Jamie, she cried her eyes out because Iron Man was her favorite character. So when Iron Man died, she was just crying. You know, like she cried for a whole half an hour. But when we went to see Star Wars, they were like, I think they were bored, and I think one of them fell asleep. I think so. That's I mean, just goes to show, doesn't it? The difference.
The Marvel stuff is your niece's equivalent to Star Wars, though, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
MegaGeek, did they cry when Holdo made a sacrifice?
No.
No, you know what? You know, this is another thing. They laughed. I remember them laughing at the scene at the ending with the little boy, because the little boy's acting was so bad. They started laughing. I remember, and I laughed too. I can't remember what the boy was. He sweeping or something like that? I can't remember. That film was awful. But I remember them laughing at the end. Yeah, they weren't laughing with it; they were laughing at it. You know, there you go. So
I will say, as a Star Trek fan, I have no Star Trek merchandise. However, I have. This was when Force Awakens came out, so the buzz before. I have Star Wars slippers. This is how sad I am. Well, this is proving a point. This is middle-aged man with disposable income at the time. I have a T-shirt of the very same graphic you see on TV. I've not even opened this one yet.
Very nice.
Bless you, Aldi, by the way. And
what do you got?
There you go.
Oh, brilliant. What do you think, R2? Ah, shut up.
What do you know?
Shut up.
How much merch do these alphabets buy, would you say?
Very, very little based on the paucity in any of the stores. I mean, not just in the 80s, but I remember when you mentioned earlier about when they relaunched them in the cinemas, and then we had the prequels. I mean, the merch lines then was just, and I remember at the time they launched Lego Star Wars, and I was a huge Lego fan as well as a huge Star Wars fan. I was in my 20s, and I went out every pay packet and spent hundreds of pounds on Star Wars Lego because it was just it was everything,
Still got it? Have you still got it?
I have still got it. Yeah,
I've seen his Lego Star Wars collection, man. It's impressive. You should see it. Really good.
Yeah.
I hate it when you step on a Lego. That really hurts.
I would just say to the guys in the chat, what Star Wars merch have you got? Just pop it up in the chat. Let's see what you got.
That's what I've got.
Brian, any merch?
Far too much merch. Enough merch that when a new parcel comes in, I can see that look in my good lady's eyes. As if to say,
"Oh dear,
I think
Where's
this is
the money
over,
for the rent?"
Brian. I've still got so much stuff. I used to have a whole load of, the Master Replica stuff, lightsabers, the whole lot. But some rat bag in the States ripped me off, and I sold the lot. Which I to this day I had a Christopher Lee signed Dooku lightsaber, and that's one of the worst decisions I've ever made, getting rid of that.
That must have sold for a lot, though, right?
Not at the time, but now Christ knows how much that'd be worth now. But right now I'm sitting across from a cabinet that's got a whole load of the hot toy stuff in that. I've got a fortune that I wasted, money that I don't really have that I spent in Star Wars stuff.
What's your favourite item? I would say you probably sold it, but what's your favourite item you've got?
Oh, it's hard. It's so hard to say. I think the Return of the Jedi look that I've got, that's probably my favourite just now. Although I do like the Anakin's as well.
That's peak Luke, isn't it?
Gonads installed version of Luke.
Because Ruin made sure they were removed for the film
straight off.
So,
forever. Yeah,
I don't understand how they would think that we wouldn't notice when they put all this stuff in the film. What What did they think?
I
You know what
didn't.
mean?
I didn't.
I did.
I didn't get the level, the understanding. I do now. I just
The
didn't
first time I
understand it.
saw Force Awakens, I came out puzzled. I came out the cinema puzzled because, first of all, I didn't want to hear anything about it. I didn't see any trailer. I wanted to go in fresh. So I went in the cinema and I came out puzzled. I was like, why didn't they get those three together? And why is Han Solo dead? And why is Han Solo such a dweeb? You know, why? There's all these questions. But I was like thinking to myself, oh, maybe all the answers will be in the second one.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly got them. Yahtzeesphobe for how'd you pronounce that?
Ahsoka.
Yeah, Ahsoka, Funko Pops, a few R2s, some Vaders,
And a partridge in a pear tree.
so, and an X-wing in the loft. Mark's 47 loves her. My R2D2 is built full size. Wow.
What?
Oh,
Wow, excellent. And he's got a TARDIS as well. Look at that. Bloody hell.
I think Mark
Full
wins.
size, functional, moving by remote, talks, plays, songs, doesn't count as merch. Probably also have a Sphere R2 and Sideshow version.
Sphero, yeah. Remote control R2, yeah, that's right.
Mark,
They
do you
thought
have an actual dwarf that lives inside the R2 unit?
Yeah, a replica of Kenny Baker. Shadow Man, I passed my collection on to my nephew. I had several OT action figures and the Millennium Falcon. I also had a speeder. Right now, I have a Grogu and a Boba Fett Funko.
Hello to Shadow Man, by the way. He's a great guy. I know him personally, and he's very intelligent guy. Just to say that.
They thought BB-8 was going to better R2, didn't they? When they put BB-8 out, and I was like, look how clever we are. It's a big ball and it's rolling.
It was very
figure
clever.
out how we did it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know what?
Magnets.
We didn't care. We still love R2. R2's so much better than BB-8. Isn't that right, R2? Yes, definitely. Oh,
Wasn't there? Did anybody see the multicolored R2
Christ. Yeah, so
unit this week? Brian, did you see it?
Yeah, that's the merchandise. That's the
Unfortunately, I did,
merchandise
yeah.
that they're pitching to the LGBTQ community because they know they won't buy anything else. So they've started releasing rainbow-colored stuff now. There's a rainbow-colored Darth Vader figure. There's a multicolored Boba Fett figure, and now this as well. So
such a corporate gimmick, isn't it? I mean, no kid's going to buy that.
no way.
I mean, just on a serious note, because we are not by any stretch bashing the LGBT community. We're bashing the idiots who think that this is what the LGBT community wants. And Lucas's original Star Wars appealed to everyone because he pandered to no one. You know, he just made something universal. It wasn't, well, I need to include this person because he looks like this, or this person because of this. And he created people with characteristics that we could all associate with. So
it was universal, really.
Yeah, exactly. Luke was just this, you know, he was a hero because he had a good heart, and he was, you know, we saw his farm boy background, his humble beginnings, and these are just general characteristics that everyone can relate to. Now it feels though they need to go through a checklist of, well, we need to include this and this and this, and people who look like this, and people from this background.
Like the BBC, yeah.
That's the wrong way to do it. Cameron, you know, if we can remember this point for when Kamran comes back on, because I'm sure, well, MegaGeek will you know, be interested in what he's got to say. But yeah, it's you don't. That's not how you do it. People, they look for traits in a character that they can relate to. You don't have to tick every box and show every kind of person on screen. It's just daft.
What I said in a previous live stream, I said basically they're doing it wrong. What they're doing, and everybody knows this, they're shoehorning people of color or women into male role, or people of color into IPs that already exist. What they really need to do is get people of color and women and give them as much power as the people at the top, or give them showrunner positions, and then they can create new stuff for themselves, you know, for women, new stuff for women, new stuff for people of color. That's what they should be doing, not shoehorning. Have you noticed that the white, no disrespect to anyone here, that the
I'm
people
offended.
at the top, yeah, the people at the top are not people of color. They're still. JJ made me laugh. He went, I looked around the room and it was the whitest room I ever saw. What a load of crap. If that was the case, step down, mate, and
It's
let a
all
black man,
deflection.
you know,
It's all
show run Star
deflection.
Wars. You know what I mean?
Well, this
So-
guy's the biggest hypocrite of the lot, because he actually came out and said, we need more female directors in Star Wars. Oh, and by the way, can I have my trilogy, please?
Exactly.
Be the change you want, Ryan. Step down and allow a female to step into your place. But it's always easier to signal virtue than actually, follow
That's
through on
true.
it, isn't it? So.
Do you think that JJ is on the run? Because now I hear that he's not directing the Superman movie. He's basically producing.
Yeah, he's
So,
taken
because-
back, hasn't he? He's kind of like
Yes.
washed his hands of it, sort of, and given it to someone else to take the heat on. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically I think he's heard a lot of people say how bad he is at not finishing. You know what I mean? So so he's taking a step back now. Let them blame other directors.
He's not good at finishing off, is what you said.
Yes, yes. Is this turned into a carry-on stream or what?
Shadow Man in the chat. Most POC don't care about this diversity crap. If you dig into it, it's far left white female wokesters who are pushing this racist, sexist agenda. They're running Disney's writing rooms. Yeah. And he comes back with another comment saying, I am speaking as POC, by the way. We wouldn't even care about that. But straight away, he kind of has to defend himself to certain groups who would get narky about it. And I think that's part of the problem. They just want to get offended at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
they're the
understand
ones
why
that-
they're sticking sex into everything now and people's sexuality. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about not having, like the lesbian kiss or whatever. It's about do we need any sexuality? It's you look at the Luca stuff. All right, there was the slightly awkward kiss, Luke on his sister, but and the Han Solo. But this is the most PG rated stuff. There was nothing. It was mildly alluded romance, but it was Whereas there's definitely agendas being pushed, and there's definitely people in influential positions who are
they're trying
driving
to
things
things now, aren't they? As well, I heard.
Question for you, Ruin. Peacock in the chat. Today is the anniversary for the release of Rambo 3. Would love to know how Ruin would improve that franchise.
Well, I feel I must don the mask to answer this particular question. So, okay, so we have Rambo, big, strong hero. He's not afraid of anyone. He can take it to anyone. But I think the way to go with this character is, first of all, he is a loner. We know that. He's a lone wolf. But let's put him on an island, maybe. And
sounding good.
By fishing and suckling from the tit of a cow, and then maybe someone from the U.S. Armed Forces flies to the island. Rambo, we really need you for this mission in the Middle East. The whole.
Would it be a female, kind of a female army officer? Yeah.
A female army officer, wooden as fuck. Yes, we'll send her in to deliver the lines, and then Rambo will, and she'll say to him, John Rambo. Is it John Rambo? I can't even goddamn remember. John Rambo. Yeah. Please, we need you. And Rambo turns round and he gives her that slightly wonky stare that Stallone has, and she says, "Please, here's your handgun. We've kept it for you all this time, and you know what's coming, man, babies. Don't make me drag this out." He takes the handgun and he shoots her in the goddamn face, and there we go. And then he tosses the handgun over his shoulder and says, "No, leave me alone. I don't believe in being a fucking hero anymore." And I think that would work. I don't know about you guys, but there we go.
I would say that's very controversial because a man attacking a woman in Hollywood on film.
Yeah, that never
Yes,
do.
but
Wow.
not when the female operative identifies as a
No.
different gender. So I didn't mention that bit.
Moving swiftly on. Shadow Man in the chat says, I love that poster.
I like Princess Leia's leg in that poster.
Me
Actually,
too.
looks a bit weird.
It's a slight variation on the Hildebrandt poster.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
it before. Yeah.
How many
Mark Hamill
posters were there
never had so
altogether?
much muscles in that poster in it. Mark Hamill, look at the muscles on him. Bloody hell.
He doesn't look as black as he did the other day, did he?
No. Empire Strikes Back poster.
Was it before he it was before he hit the sunning salon, yeah?
Or Tatooine, as we know it. Yeah.
Star Wars. I tell you right, that film made such an impact in the world. This is we're talking about Star Wars here. Star Wars influenced so many people, made filmmakers. If it wasn't for Star Wars, James Cameron we would not have known James Cameron at all. So Star Wars should have been treated with respect. And these hacks that took over and destroyed this wonderful franchise, they should really be shot at gunpoint. That's what I say.
Get Rambo to do it.
Star Wars is pop culture as much as it is a part of pop culture, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we just boot him off the stream and be good riddance? Bastard.
It's just in the corner of the screen
think
there.
about it though, guys. Think about it. How many films have you seen that had Star Wars jokes in it that had nothing to do with Star Wars? How many directors have you heard talk about, when I saw Star Wars, I realized that's what I wanted to do? Even me, dumb old stupid director like me, when I saw Star Wars, I wanted to do special effects. It's only when I saw Close Encounters I realized I wanted to be a director, but because it was the same year. But I was convinced that's where I wanted to do. That's where I wanted to go. But that film led me to another film and made me, again, poor and depressed. So, Star Wars, you cannot, seriously, it changed people's lives. That's how powerful that film was. And I'm not even exaggerating here, as you all know. That's why it should have been treated with respect.
I've told you a million times to stop exaggerating. So yes. Yeah, you're right, mate. You're just right. It just came from left field. Nobody knew about it, and it just went bang. And you're right. So many people, especially in the industry, loved the impact it made upon them. As you said with yourself, that's what I want to do.
I mean, look how many rip-off films there were of Star Wars. Star Crash is the biggest one of all. I mean, look at the TV series, Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers. It spawned all them. As I said, it's more powerful than anyone could figure out. If you go back in the history of Star Wars and you see what it's connected to throughout the whole of history up to this point, you will be amazed.
I will say Shadow Man figured it out, because he says the afterglow from Star Wars release sent waves through the industry. It's the reason Star Trek movie got made instead of Star Trek Phase 2 on TV, original BSG2.
Absolutely.
Is it fair to say Star Wars really brought sci-fi into the mainstream?
Yep.
We spoke about that before.
It was very niche, wasn't it, really, until we had this Lucas trilogy.
2001,
Silent
Running.
Silent Running. I was going to say Silent Running and Dark Star. Those movies, they were made just for that audience. But Star Wars kind of blew it all open, didn't it? Completely, just blew the locks off the doors.
And also, if you ever try to do something and it's really, really hard, and halfway through you're going, "Why am I doing this?" Just remember the strife, and he almost had a breakdown that George Lucas went through making Star Wars, and look what happened. Do you know what I mean? Just that alone should encourage you to keep going.
Yeah,
you know?
if there's ever a message, just to keep pushing through, because you know, otherwise you won't succeed. Absolutely, I totally agree. And I mean, more importantly than anything else, the film also made it really cool for people to wear their pajamas all day. So I'm
slippers.
all about it.
Yeah. In fact, I've got my bed sheet is stormtroopers. Stormtroopers. I've got a bed sheet with stormtroopers on it.
Bless
Really
you,
cool.
Bless you.
Is that like
Father
Ted's He-Man bedspread that he has? Sorry, Father Doodle's He-Man bedspread.
I'm telling you, as I said, right, people don't realize how powerful Star Wars was in people's lives. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And when they re-released it, thousands went to see it again. You know, even though the re-release went very good.
I didn't see it in the I didn't see it in the cinema originally, so I made the conscious effort to go see Star Wars in the cinema. When
I went, everybody had lightsabers and they were flashing it in the dark, and some people were dressed like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and
wasn't Alec Guinness, was it?
No, it wasn't. He was dead at that moment in time. But it's crazy. Absolutely, it was absolutely crazy when they re-released that film. You'd have thought that the hype would have died down, but it didn't. It just got worse.
You're right. There is so much hype and so much love for it. Not Brian Young is just stunned into silence over it.
Sorry, I was away there for a refreshment opportunity, I'm afraid.
Another can of iron brew for that man.
He's still with us, Brian.
I'm indeed. Sorry about that.
If it's not The Last Jedi, he's not interested.
The saddest thing is we're all sitting here on the 44th anniversary of Star Wars, and instead of talking about how wonderful it is and everything that's going on, we're sitting here pissing and moaning about how shite it's become in the last 5 years. And that is tragic. Apathy, particularly, is just shows us where we are.
It's tragic. We've got to go back 40 years to the last decent stuff, isn't it? That's the shame of it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff now, but it's just crap.
I like the prequels, but I mean, they certainly didn't reach the dizzy heights that the original trilogy did. They were enjoyable, and I love them in their own way, but it's definitely been a downward trajectory.
Like old drug addicts chasing the first hit.
Look,
and you know what? We're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. It's gone.
Even I've got the prequels on Blu-ray. Even I've got them. Do you know what I mean? And they were terrible, but I would never have the last 3 that was made because I think they were awful. You know, and just disrespected the memory of Star Wars totally. I'll never buy them ever.
Not even in the bargain bins.
No, I don't. I don't see it as part of Star Wars. That's Disney Star Wars. That's got nothing to do with the Star Wars that we love at all. You got to admit, seriously, it's. I was happy to see Harrison Ford back, but
he wasn't.
Yeah, I know he wasn't.
Miserable bastard.
Yeah,
he was. Listen, that guy was complicit. So fuck him.
He didn't care. Just wanted the money.
No,
you know, God bless him for that. I guess.
Fuck him.
I think one of the reasons he was coming back was not one of the reasons, but I think the only reason he was going to come back was he was going to kill off Han.
Yeah.
Provided we kill off Han and give me 40 million, I'm in.
So I can buy a new plane because I've crashed the other one on airfield.
That's right, crashed that one, didn't he? That guy is Han Solo.
Sorry?
That guy is Han Solo. He really is.
Yeah,
I think that's why he hates him so much.
He wasn't Han Solo in Force Awakens, though. He was some kind of
he was not.
hybrid.
He was well dying his hair pink at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is where we realized. I think this is where everyone realized. The Force Awakens was the point everyone realized that they were destroying and deconstructing our heroes, our classic tentpole heroes from pop culture for the last 40, 50 years. And The Last Jedi just sealed the deal on that. I think everyone then woke up, didn't they? Then everyone was like, Jesus, they're killing everyone. They're destroying everyone. They're demeaning everybody. This is it. They're just promoting women over men. The men are just the enemy now, you know?
It's sad that when they do reviews on YouTube and stuff like that about Star Wars, you know, the so-called decent ones, they basically don't mention any of that, do they? Don't mention it at all, which is really weird.
No. I know, that's right. Yeah.
Why are we on a big picture ruin?
Looking beautiful. He's just sat there Listening to you lot,
Listening
slagging
to
him
you, man babies.
All we need is a hand on each of Anthony's shoulders right now.
The mask will just hover forwards.
off. He can't even say it.
Celestial body.
There's no way you're going to know what. It's like the time right behind you, isn't it?
Oh, well,
look at that huge clock behind you.
Huge
Jesus.
cock.
Clock.
He is a huge cock.
Yeah, that one too.
Elbow right in the face.
Oh, sorry, clock. Oh, sorry. What time does it say on the clock, Ruin?
The clock is fixed in the exact time The Last Jedi was screened, and it will never move from that one glorious moment. The moment, the very second Star Wars died. So there we go.
You know what, right? Ruin Johnson, he obviously realised what he's done. Well, maybe he hasn't.
Do you?
But do you remember when Judge Dredd came out with Sylvester Stallone? And I remember all the EPKs, and he was going how great the movie was. And then years later, when I went back to him, he said, "I should have never made that movie. It was awful." Do you know what I mean? I wonder if Ruin's going to say that in the next 20 years or so, or even in the next 5 years. Who knows?
Or even in the
No
next
chance. Yeah.
30 seconds?
No chance, I guess.
The guy's too arrogant. He's too arrogant, isn't he? He's too arrogant to admit. I mean, there was an interview. I don't know if any of you've seen it, but it was a reasonable amount of time after the movie had come out. I want to say sort of 3 to 6 months. So there was, a lot of the criticism had been heard, and he was asked in an interview, do you have any regrets? Would you do anything differently? Do you think, with hindsight, do you think there are any flaws in the movie? And he straight face just said, nope.
Wow.
And anyone who's ever created anything wouldn't have the audacity to say it's 100% perfect. They got it absolutely bang on, and there's nothing to do differently, apart from Rian Johnson. And this is part of the problem. I think the film was bad. I mean, God, it was awful. But what was worse almost is what followed, and the the slating of the fans and the belittling of the fans, and it's just. I think that's what really drove that division. But
I think that what's followed actually keeps us going for that, because I'd have given up this crap for long ago. But it's the continual masterpiece. And
Kamran. He said that it's brought us all together, and we're still talking shite now.
I've just flipped over 10,000 followers on Twitter. Can you believe?
Wow.
Just this week?
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow! Congratulations.
Ridiculous.
That's impressive.
I mean,
Are you verified?
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
Do you see this week Twitter said that parody accounts aren't going to be verified at all? No chance, sadly.
What does that mean when you verify?
You get the little blue tick, don't you?
It means blue tick, and you can talk bollocks without being questioned. I think
Impunity. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Blue tick.
Ruin, are you paying PCAT? Is he on the payroll?
PCAT, your tickets for Star Wars Celebration and my access to my private boudoir are in the mail. Thank you for your support.
Well done, PCAT.
Hey, one thing I
MegaGeek.
wanted to mention, if I could,
Yeah, go on. Sorry, Anthony. Go on.
just a slightly different angle, and again, trying to steer it back to the the good old days. But looking at these old posters, one thing that doesn't get as much credit as it should for the originals, like we always say, great adventures, great cast, great acting, brilliant story. Incredible special effects for its time.
Good
but the one thing that doesn't get enough credit, and it interests me as a musician as well, is the sound effects and
gosh,
the whole Ben Burt,
absolutely.
the whole host of these new sound effects, which again have permeated pop culture. I mean, you think of them all, the sound of the lightsaber, the sound of going into hyperspace, the sound of the speeder bikes in Return of the Jedi through the forest. I mean, incredible, absolutely fantastic.
But there again, Anthony, right? This is what I was saying about Star Wars. Star Wars has really, nobody realized what Star Wars has done. For instance, I'll give you an example, right? So Star Wars was one of the very first films to actually treat sound with respect. every sound effect in that was treated as something that was meant to be that you never heard before. And Ben Burtt did it, right? Then Ben Burtt worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he made all the guns sound like explosions. And then that influenced 48 Hours. If you watch 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, when they're shooting, you hear explosions out of their guns. It doesn't sound like the guns from the 70s. So that's just another example of how Star Wars influenced Hollywood movies and people. I didn't even know that sound design was a thing until Star Wars, until I read about Ben Burtt. I didn't even know that composing something at that level that John Williams did was a thing. And John Williams influenced the guy who did Up, you know, the guy who did the music for Up and Star Trek and stuff. You can see his influence. So Star Wars is more than you think. I think I've made
Absolutely.
that
I think the soundtrack makes it.
Yeah, it does. It does. But as I said, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Yeah, you might have problems with the films. Yeah, they're not perfect, but they literally made a dent in the world. In the world. Even Bollywood copied Star Wars, for God's sakes, you know? So there you go.
You're right. It was a dent bigger than the Mexican Bay asteroid, I think, wasn't it? The one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Yeah, definitely.
Bigger dent than Snoke's forehead. Always bring it back.
Comedian Doug Stanhope said somewhere between great and dead, sucks shows up. But I think John Williams is possibly the exception to the rule on that one.
Yeah, I mean, John Williams' music really didn't make a dent in the last three or the Disney version of Star Wars. It didn't, not to me. But when you listen to the reason why is because of the technique that they used in films. If you notice that films of the 70s and films of the 80s, they have special scenes in it that's dictated by music. Like, for example, Empire Strikes Back has that scene where he says, we better get to the ships. And then you have that cut, and then you see the Star Destroyers flying in space, and you have the Imperial March. All that scene is just them flying in space with that theme. The first time you hear it, that special effects scene is made especially for the music. And there are dozens of examples of that, like Close Encounters and all the films that came out that year. But they don't do that anymore now. Music sounds like noise today for some reason. But there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like it takes the soul out of it when you don't have the right soundtrack. When you think of the kind of latest Superman films.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but you know, without John Williams' soundtrack to that, there's no soul to those films.
Exactly what Richard Donner said. Exactly what Richard Donner said, that when he made Superman and when he was forced to cut it together because they wanted to release it, because he wasn't finished with it, so he cut it all together, and he watched the film. He was so depressed. And then when John Williams came in, he said, John, just do something with it. And then when John Williams was finished, he went into the thing and John Williams showed him the film. He was so happy, he ran up to John Williams and hugged him. And he said, you just saved my movie. You literally saved my movie. So, you're absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right.
That reminds me of the award ceremony at the end of A New Hope, when they're all walking down the aisle between all the troops to get their medals.
Yeah,
and there's a video on YouTube of the John Williams music removed from it, and it's just the incidents, steps, and everything. Yeah, it's hilarious, but you can really appreciate how devoid of anything the film would be. I mean, it's just a huge part of the film song completely.
Yeah, that's an example of music dictating the scene. The only sound that you hear in that is when the crowd turns around and slams their feet and R2-D2 go, and that's it.
Yep.
It's all dictated by music, all of it. You know, they don't do that in films anymore. They really don't. They're too busy making it fast so that, you know, people with
the danger of sounding like my shill counterpart. Yeah. I absolutely love Rey's theme in The Force Awakens, and that scene.
Yeah,
that is the highlight of that entire trilogy, and
it really is. Yeah,
I absolutely love that. But
it's beautiful.
I don't know it.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's.
When you watch that bit, when you first see, Demon, when you first see Rey's introduction, that is it. Just watch that bit and then forget the rest of the trilogy.
It's magical, isn't it? It's magical.
It really is, Demon.
Which film is this off?
The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
About 15 minutes in.
Yeah,
Rey's introduction.
It does get repeated in the other movies, but it's at its best in that movie. And it's just a great scene as well. It's just it's one of the best things about that entire movie, and it's all made by the music completely. And it's
let's not forget the Duel of the Fates, which was in the film was terrible. That scene at the ending was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot.
Question for Ruin, if I may. With all this talk about Williams, do you think, looking back now, it was a bad idea to have him score the film? Because you truly did not get the full effect then, did you?
You know, if I could answer as me instead of that round-headed bastard, you know, it's such a... in some ways, it's such a shame that John Williams was involved at all with the sequel trilogy because, you know, it was wasted on it. I mean, I had a chance. I don't know if Brian, maybe I spoke to you about this, and you have. I don't know, but some of you might have had the same opportunity. I had a chance to go see a tour that was put on where they showed Star Wars on a big screen, but with a live orchestra.
That's it. Wow. Was the Empire one I saw? Yeah.
Wow. I saw the Empire one as well.
It'll give you a whole new appreciation of it.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Full live orchestra and everything from, you know, the tiniest little, you know, flute noises to the big resound. You know, it's just
really incredible.
Wow.
Hers standing up for the whole thing. It was incredible. Yeah, and if you ever get the chance to do it.
You should try and get Andy from Club Star Wars on this because he's given me a whole new appreciation of some of the stuff that's done because he knows everything about John Williams.
John Williams is notorious for not watching the film after he scored it. So everything that he scored, he really doesn't watch the film at all. I mean, it's not. He's just not really a film fan, as far as I know. Maybe he's watched a few, but once he scored it, he's seen the film, so he doesn't really go back to it, whatever.
That's incredible.
So I seen a couple of
a musical genius.
It's where he played the Imperial March in Italy, I think it was. It was on YouTube, and the audience were just on their feet when he started playing the first note.
They were.
That just goes to show again how powerful that film was. Those three films was.
Were they on their feet on the way out? Yes.
No. Is that another joke? Do I need to laugh at this?
You are laughing.
But yeah, as I said, you know, Star Wars changed the world. It certainly changed me. I don't know about you guys. Certainly changed me. Star Wars is amazing.
He's still buzzing. We can tell. He's still buzzing, boys.
But the thing, because I was young, and it still resonates with me now, and I'm an old fart now. Do you know? You guys got
to. That was another joke.
Yeah, if you guys don't understand this, then yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but for me, I'm still passionate about Star Wars. Very passionate about Star Wars.
I think it's
Ian, we get it.
It's all young, hasn't it? It's kept us all, you know, quite really youthful in our appreciation of things. Whereas before Star Wars was a thing, before it got released, people got old really quick. They seem to, you know. But we all still, you know, we're all still exuberant with the passion for it. We still collect the merchandise. We still buy toys. You know, we're still very much in that mindset. In that back in the time frame of the 70s and 80s, we're still kind of there. And if Star Wars wasn't a thing, I don't think we'd just be completely different people, and we wouldn't know each other for a start.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
I think that's the saddest thing about it. You know, my nephew was old enough to be able to, you know, he was a kid during the prequels, and I was able to share a lot of this stuff, and we have that bond, you know, over that kind of stuff. But my son, who's slightly younger, he'll never really understand what's going on and what it's like, and you don't want to show him the sequel trilogy and stuff. It's like, you know, it's almost as if that time is gone, the special time is gone, and that's really sad.
Speaking of special time.
Christ.
He's back.
I was just thinking of Kamran, and there he is, you beautiful man.
Psychic powers. I guess, would that be a new force power? Would that be something that was just invented? The ability to manifest things through just imagining them?
I'd certainly like to give Ray that ability.
Well, I thought you already had.
Let's add it to our arsenal.
I will say, Ruin, you're on top of Kamran.
Oh,
You're on top, mate.
Well, he was certainly on top of me and getting the business when I watched the movie. So yeah,
We've listed everyone in order of directorial greatness, and
Just came up the top.
We were just talking about how great John Williams' score.
yeah, I heard that, and
Yeah.
it's look, the guy's a magical guy, and if you think about it, Star Wars would have been okay, but without the music, it doesn't work. There's that report of how Lucas showed an early cut of Star Wars. They still don't have all the visual effects, and but he showed it to a lot of his friends, and they're all like, "Oh man, this looks terrible, right?" And I think it was Spielberg said, "No, there's something here. This is gonna work, right?" But and part of that is the music wasn't there yet. The music wasn't there yet, and so even though they had all the scenes, the music wasn't there yet. And if you think about it, you go back to Return of the Jedi, which is my favorite film because it was the first film I saw in the theater. That moment when Vader is watching the Emperor, electrocute Luke, and he's having the inner battle between his good side and his bad side. You don't see the actor's face, right? It's the music that sells it. It's the music that sells his conflict. And then the music upswells the moment he grabs the Emperor and throws him. It's the music that sells the most important moment of that character's journey.
such a shame that they changed that, but edit to that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this Bruce like, oh no! Like,
oh no, it's almost it's almost if the mask itself is emoting. You can see emotion in that.
What did they? What did he change?
They made him say no.
Check the Revenge of the Sith, no, and put that in.
Yeah,
made it crap.
I get
literally my favorite moment in the entire
like a
6 films.
No, in what Revenge of the Sith, but that no didn't work either. So,
made it twice as bad.
Yeah.
Can't believe Kathy for that.
Fan of Revenge of the Sith, but that don't work.
But as we were saying, Star Wars changed the world, so that's What more can
look
you
at this
say?
poster here. Look at this. You look at how much of a spoiler that is, because everyone was wondering who's Leia going to end up with. Is she going to end up with Luke, or is she going to end up with Han? Look at that spoiler poster where Han is sweeping her off her feet.
And Luke ended up with a tauntaun.
But he made out with his sister.
That very poster is for sale somewhere in the States. It's an original. $1,600 if you want that.
Wow.
And that film was amazing too. I remember watching this with my mouth open all the way through the film, from the beginning to the end. Especially the Walker scene. That was an amazing piece of special effects. I mean, imagine moving 1 inch every moment to make those walkers work. Oh my Lord!
Yeah, and they don't look like those old, Sinbad the Sailor versus the movement, right?
Yeah.
Apparently they did the stop motion with the Mandalorian as well. When Bill Burr, when they first go and grab him again.
Yeah.
The walkers in the back, those things that look like the tripods from the BBC show in the 80s.
I like that show, man. I like that show a lot.
That used to scare the shit out of me.
It was a good show. It was a good show.
Atmospheric, really atmospheric. I just want to say to Cameron as well, well done for the Tron Legacy series. It was great, by the way.
I'm very proud of it. What's amazing is that show vanished, and because Disney XD basically disappeared, and then now it's on this new, this new Disney streaming thing, Disney Plus, and so it's got a whole new generation of fans who are like, "Wow, man, this was a good show. Why didn't it continue?" I was like, "Well, because I opened my big mouth, got fired." I spoke back to my Disney executives, which was a mistake.
You're just too honest.
Well, do you know what, right? It's best to be honest than not at all.
It is.
Yeah, because everything I said, I warned them, if you do this, and this, the show, you're never going to get a second season. It's going to collapse. You're not, and they didn't listen to me. And because I was a troublemaker that was pointing out the problems in the production process, they got rid of me. They brought in a yes man who just, whatever, we'll just keep doing it. And I said, you're going to bring, I told them as I was on my exit interview, because I didn't see it coming. Literally, I thought we were having a meeting to discuss the next episode. It's like, the meeting is, you're out. I was like, okay. So I said, before I leave, it was just like pack up and go, like now. I was like, okay. Before I leave, I'm gonna, it was literally, I didn't even see it coming, and it was like literally, I was like, all right, if I'm gonna leave in 5 minutes, then give me 5 minutes to tell me to say the truth to you.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, if you're gonna, I said, what you're gonna do is you're gonna bring in a yes man who's gonna just let you continue down the path and not speak to the people that need to be spoken to fix the problems. And the show, you've invested a lot of money, and you're not going to get a second season, and this is going to be a net loss for the company, and you're heading for that. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's just, it must be so stressful being in Hollywood, being involved in that culture, in the workplace there, when you get pulled into meetings left, right, and center, and you don't know what's going to happen or what's going to be said to you and how you're going to be treated. I can't imagine, the stress and anxiety that must go through people when have to deal with all that.
You're in a constant state of fear or anger.
Yeah.
You're like a Sith. That's the only. You're in that constant state, right? So.
Oh, jeez.
In the chat, PCAT says, this is a question for Ruin. What would Chewie sound like if it was up to you?
Oh, well, that's a very easy question to answer, because obviously we'd remove his furry balls, and that would take his voice up several notches. So probably something like a, imagine something like that, By the way, I don't know if anyone noticed, this is actually the Chinese version of the Empire Strikes Back poster.
Oh,
if you look very closely, you can see Lando Calrissian, but he's been shrunk right down.
Actually, he has, isn't he? Oh, actually, I can't see him. Where is he?
I can't see him. I can't see what.
Is he?
I don't know where he is.
That's the guy.
Is that him in the white near the word Empire, like above the E? Is that his flowing?
He's gender fluid.
Pando.
I don't think he's on there,
right?
I really don't think
Lobot is gender fluid, man. He can be programmed to be whatever you need him to be.
Oh, God. Oh no! God knows what
Human
Lando's been up to at Lobot.
Well, if you can make the dude do whatever you want, they got a bit of a gimp relationship going on.
Oh no!
Don't give them ideas.
Empire for everyone.
Don't give them ideas. Please don't give them
I
ideas.
see today they were trying to make Solo 2 trending.
Why?
Did you see that? I think it was a
God's
piss take,
sakes.
if anything.
Is that like
I think
some
it was
employee who's about to lose his job? I had nothing better to do. I'm going to put this on.
The
I
first one was
tweeted about this.
absolutely awful.
It just happened to be. They happened to release it, didn't they, on 25th of May, 2018, I think it was. Yeah, so they're trying to pass it off as kind of Solo Day, but God, I mean,
Solo, because you were the only person in the cinema that watched it.
So
I love this poster that Princess Leia's well in the front with that bikini.
Oh yeah, that's the moment. That's the moment a whole generation woke up and hit puberty.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, I was like,
I find that deeply problematic, to be honest.
I love those scenes. I thought
she is in a consensual, BDSM relationship there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't consensual with the Jabba, but I don't know.
Ford was giving it to her, as it were, wasn't he?
I find this a little racist towards Gamorreans, because they've shrunk the Gamorrean right down. I'm not very happy about that.
Lando's on the right, isn't he? He's still on it as well.
Lando's looking up Han
He's looking at the
Solo's
white guy.
armpit.
He's looking up at the white guy with admiration and awe. I mean, let's see what he's doing there.
he's looking around. He's got the expression on his face that says, like, I'm on the poster? What?
Straight up the armpit. Well, what have we here?
Han Solo's almost patting him on the head, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Leia would be in the
This
front.
sounds pet.
At the back,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
God, no.
Luke Skywalker's huge in
Classic
that poster.
posters of me ripping the piss out the whole lot.
I love this poster though. It's really neat. I like it.
Apart from the patting him on the head.
Wow, he's trying to.
Luke's awesome, isn't he? Like, he's just got this awesome pose.
I was going to say,
Skywalker.
Kathleen Kennedy must hate it because he's almost got a halo, hasn't he? He's kind of been made to look very godly on this picture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Is that the pose where it looks like it? Is it the pose where he's on the deck of the sailboat
That's
and
it.
he
Yes.
just received the lightsaber, just ignited it? Yeah.
That's the one that I think Steele Saunders uses for his podcasting.
And they made a mistake as well because he's meant to be wearing a black glove like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, they don't.
Isn't he?
He's got a blue lightsaber too. Green.
Yeah, it's blue. But yeah, it's probably an early iteration of it when they were still developing the movie. So yeah.
Yeah, still a great poster though. Still a really good poster.
It really is.
You can just cut out everything
Peacock,
and I'm fine.
Peacock in the chat says, looks like Lando is Han's new pet, replacing Chewie.
Chewie's not in the. Where's Chewie?
Yeah, where's Chewie?
Good point.
No, isn't he there? Isn't he there? I can't tell. It's the screen's too
There's a
small.
teddy bear. There's Warwick Davis.
They've got Bib for Tuna, but they don't have Chewie.
Do you feel Bib Fortuna got what he deserved in that sort of at the end of the Mandalorian? How would you should make a whole series of
Fortuna since 1983. Yeah, definitely.
They're just killing the past, aren't they? Let the dead, was it? Let the past die, whoever it is. So they're just killing them all now. It's
Kill it if you
ridiculous.
have to.
Especially with, I was really sad when I killed Fish Face as well. What was his name? Admiral Akbar. They killed him off, didn't they?
Well, you hear about it off screen, right?
Yeah.
That guy's dead. I don't think you even know. It's like, well, I guess he was on the bridge, so he must be dead. on the bridge now.
That was another actor that got absolutely shafted, wasn't it?
Oh,
Poor guy.
It's a trap.
The crew was mocking him, or some people in the crew were jerks towards him, and he was crying because he's like, my baby, and you're making fun of my death scene or whatever.
It's reduced to a joke. Yeah, it's tragic, absolutely tragic. The complete disrespect.
And it was Ryan Johnson who actually got him to say as upset as he was in the moment. He actually got him to say, "Can you say it's a rap?" As a play on words. While we hit the clap, and the total insensitivity of the guy. I mean,
clueless.
Yeah.
And it was Islamophobic because we Muslims loved Akbar. Akbar was our guy. he was our guy, and I know what Hollywood's about.
This is why they said they couldn't have him. They couldn't have him act as the person piloting the ship into the enemy, didn't they? Because obvious connotations there, in his name and whatever. Yeah.
So they just flush him out the window and don't even know about him. Okay, fine, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh dear.
I'm loving the old posters though, Mr. Brown. I've got to say, as miserable as Disney Star Wars is, I'm loving the reminiscent of the old posters.
You never get tired of these, do you? Never.
No.
Just so many happy memories of watching quality entertainment, if anything.
So much enjoyment watching Luke Skywalker kick ass on that barge. Really.
I can tell you, when I saw Return of the Jedi and I was watching it, and I was watching the speeder chase on Endor, my heart was pounding. It was like magic, and I felt like I was spinning along with the speeder.
It was just so fast. The cuts were just great editing. The storyboarding was amazing. It was one of the greatest action sequences in the entire trilogy. And when I saw that in cinema for weeks and weeks and weeks afterwards, I was living in that speeder bike chase. I just loved it so much. When I was out riding my bike in the street, that was my speeder bike. I was playing with my toys underneath the chair legs and the tables in the dining room. That was Endor. My speeder bikes were there. I was imagining I was in that moment, and it's just the most incredible. I can remember when we had relatives over and I was talking about it. I wouldn't shut up about it, and my mum was trying to explain it, and she was saying, "Oh yeah, we went to see it last week. He hasn't stopped talking about it since." But there's just so much going on. There's so much going on, and she was like 25 or something, 26 at the time. There's so much going on. I couldn't work out what I was looking at. I was just sitting there nodding, going, "Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's great. It's great."
Some great stunt work there as well, by the way. So some of those biker scouts really go flying, and
I felt bad for that one guy that was screaming when he saw the tree was about to hit him.
But let's not forget the ending. I mean, I was trying to figure out how they did that. I mean, those little tiny spaces that the Millennium Falcon had to fly through, and the X-wing had to fly through.
Amazing.
And then it was it Wedge was the one that shot the final shot, didn't he, to the thing, and they all had to zoom out of the Death Star, didn't he?
Shot he shot he blew out the shield, and I think Lando took out.
Lando took out.
Lando took out the thing.
Lando
But Wedge, I think Wedge, he shot the first, didn't he? Did Wedge shoot first? He shot, and then he went. I was so happy Wedge survived because I liked Wedge.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
That's how much they love the
Hugh
character.
McGregor's uncle.
Yeah.
But that sail barge sequence though at the start of the movie, it was the apex of swashbuckling in sci-fi. Just
Nice
incredible, whenever I write anything now, it's always, an action sequence is always keeping that kind of thing in mind. It's the Errol Flynn scenario, it's the sword fighting on the steps. It's that kind of on the edge of your seat. Oh my, they're on a precipice and there's people shooting and swinging swords and there's all this stuff going on. And you just want to be, you just want to be sort of encased in this ball of action, and you don't know where it's going to take you. You know what's going to happen, and it's just pure excitement. And you've got to have the protagonist swinging from something. We had it in the first film.
That's right.
You know, we had it in the third film, and we even had it kind of in the second film as well, with Luke hanging from the AT-AT in the Battle of Hoth. So, you know, George Lucas knows his stuff. He knows how to grip the audience in that way. You know, that's the swashbuckling is so important.
Well, and
Old school
the
cinema.
way the way they would still put humor in that, like that moment when Lando is being pulled into the Sarlacc pit, and like Han's like, all right, I'm going to take it out with a blaster. He's like, well, wait, I thought you're blind. It's like, I'm kind of blind.
It's like comedy in the face of certain death, wasn't it? I loved it.
But
Demon,
all three of them were together, though. That was the thing.
Yeah.
All three of them, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Luke Skywalker,
They're a
and
team.
Lando, they were all together.
They're a team, and the droids, they're all a team.
Yeah.
Demon, I loved the little insight to your childhood where you talked about recreating the scenes with the speeder bikes. I wonder how today's kids would get on recreating some of the scenes from The Last Jedi. So can you imagine, for example, having a little sad old Luke figure on a little island, suckling milk, or
Cameron,
being grumpy,
look at him.
or maybe we could recreate Canto Bites, and we'll save the horses. Fuck the orphan children; they don't matter. Save the horses, or maybe we'll have the little figurine of Rey lifting rocks.
God.
Going back to the Luke Skywalker playset, I would imagine the lightsaber accessory would have been lost many years ago on that.
Oh, well, I still got mine. It is the plastic thing that you unroll. Do you remember that? Obviously now you can get ones that can actually glow, but in the old days you used to have the hilt, and you have to flick it out, and it was all the plastic that was connected like a toilet roll, all toilet rolls connected to one another, and that was the first lightsabers that came in red and green. Don't know if you guys remember that.
Really?
So I still got mine. Yeah.
I didn't know they did that. Wow.
Yeah, I still got mine.
Yeah, I had one of those. It was like basically it was a torch, wasn't it? A orange torch with a black
flashlight,
hilt, and this
But
pipe.
they got some really good ones out now, though. Really, really good ones. That
Did you see the one? Did you see the one they previewed in the video featuring Rey, which Anthony had absolutely loved?
I saw that one.
Where it's like a. I mean,
it comes straight from the hilt, doesn't it?
What do they? What do they say? It would be like $600 or something like that, which is about £450. Crazy amount of money for something that you press the button on and the blade actually extends from the hilt. And it looks like it does in the film as well, from like a certain distance and angle and lighting, and it looks like it does in the film, and it's with the sound and everything. But for that kind of money, you'd want to be able to fight with it as well. And these things have got to be ridiculously delicate. You know, you tap that on anything, it's probably going to break instantly. And there's your £450 gone down the drain, straight away.
I think it's part of one of the Disney attractions, that one. I've seen the patent and stuff on it.
The hotel, the new hotel, you're right. Yeah, you can only buy it there. Although we all know that they're going to release it after they've kind of done the exclusive launch in the hotel. Everyone will be able to buy it afterwards, just so they can rake that money back in from the development that it cost to make such an expensive thing.
I must admit, I've got a load of those Force Effects ones from from the prequels and everything else. It's kind of an addiction to me, but I absolutely love those things.
Yeah,
those things on a different level. But actually, and this is so sad to admit this, but myself and my good lady as it is now, the first night that we met, we were actually dueling with these damn things. And I think that's when I realised that possibly this girl should be a keeper.
Oh, she wasn't beating you off with it. I mean, no, that's the wrong choice of words.
If only.
Is this a family-friendly channel?
Not at all.
Are you trying to force me to watch somebody take off their shirt and wear high pants?
Yes, me and JJ often like to duel with our lightsabers when we're comparing notes on our trilogy.
Who's got the biggest lightsaber?
Well, certainly not Luke.
MC in the chat, I have a Luke Skywalker Force Effects lightsaber.
Okay.
Should I be
If
impressed?
you don't have one of these things, I'd highly recommend getting one.
It's really expensive, though.
Brian, do you know anything
2005, you used to be able to pick them up from Borders for like 50 quid.
Wow.
Brian, do you know anything about lightsaber replicas?
I've got just about every single one.
Still,
Oh my god.
Wow.
honestly, they're all at my mum's house. Still,
Jeez.
The missus won't let them in the house, right?
uh, sadly enough, I've got a fucking Kylo Ren one in the house.
Oh,
I know it's.
get him off.
That was back. Seen it was cool.
Stream killer.
Oh, sorry. I'll get me coat.
I must admit, though, I did like Lando in Empire and Return of the Jedi. I think he's a very positive role model for little black kids, I guess. Because I remember my friends who were black, the majority of them were black, they used to think Lando was the coolest thing ever. You know, and that's the proper way to do it.
He's charming. You can totally see him steal Leia, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's gonna steal. I mean, he's gonna take Leia right away from Han. He's doing it right in front of her, right? And so, I mean, and he's a morally complex guy. He's trying to be a businessman, trying to be responsible for these people. Basically, have a gun put on his head by Vader and say, "You're gonna do what I can do," and he still risks his life for his friend. I mean, and becomes. I mean, he destroys the Death Star.
He does, yeah.
He's a character with a huge journey.
And I remember my friends were saying that as well when I was young, and you know, my friend was like, Lando's the coolest, and some of them actually thought he was cooler than Han. You know, a lot of them were saying, you know, Han's been soft on Leia, so it took Lando to destroy the Death Star. That's what they said.
I think Han was being very hard on Leia. Think about it.
Oh, don't. Oh no. I think Lando was
moving swiftly on.
Lando was a great role model. He was a great role model for people with moustaches. You know,
exactly.
So it probably explains why my mother-in-law really identified with him.
What do you think of Donald Glover's performance as Lando?
I hated it.
Really?
Hated it. He's totally the wrong person to play. And also, why is he wearing flamboyant clothes? You know, I think he was wearing clothes because he was in Cloud City, but why continue that tradition? Why wasn't he wearing something, I don't know, something better, for God's sake?
I think he was trying to be a 70s pimp. I think that was the idea of it, right?
Yeah. It didn't make any sense. None of it. That Solo film was so awful. What's your name? I don't have a surname. You're coming solo, are you? We'll call you Han Solo. That's how bad the script was.
This is the dumbing down of Disney, isn't it? That everything needs an explanation. Nothing can be left to the imagination of the viewer. Everything needs spoon feeding. You know, every tiny little thing needs to have a backstory.
There's no mystery. There's no mystery. Yeah.
I mean, they've even written books now which give backstories to the most incidental of creatures and characters, whole canonized backstory. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the great thing, you know, the one thing we'll all remember, probably one of the most impactful scenes in the original Star Wars was the Cantina bar.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, you go in and you've got this gallery of aliens and creatures. We don't know the names. None of them really speak.
Like Glasgow on a Saturday night.
Oh, wait a minute.
Only more civilized.
You don't know their stories. I mean, these are all scoundrels who have a past, and you just go by it. You just
you create the backstory in your head. You think, oh, I wonder what that guy is. He a pilot? Why is he speaking to him? It was brilliant. But Disney just treats the fans with contempt. At least the ones with half a brain, because you know, it's spoon fed, and what a shame.
Shall we just quickly, for the last 5 minutes, speak about the Doomcock drop?
Indeed.
Okay, so I still haven't had a chance to look at it, so I'd love to hear what's going on.
Obviously, take this with a bucket load of salt. Rangers of the New Republic was effectively cancelled by Favreau and Filoni.
What was that anyway? Sorry.
That was the Gina Carano leading project that she would have led.
Yeah, they pulled the plug because, Filoni and Favreau went to the management and said, look, there's no show, you've sacked the star because we were writing it for you. So they pulled the plug on it.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense, I guess.
So Doomcock thinks that they're kind of trying to play them at their own game, you see.
I think they're right. If I'm just hearing that from what you're telling me, I mean, everything I've seen of Mr. Favreau, remember, I I know people who are working directly in Favreau's inner circle. I mean, I had just before, the pandemic, everything. I had coffee with a close friend of mine who is one of Favreau's. All I'll say is a long-term crew member who's worked with him throughout his projects, very high-level crew member. And he told me that John hates The Last Jedi. I'm sorry, everyone. And so he said John hates it, and then John was like, what the hell is this? And then he called up Disney and said, can I help you guys? I think you're on the wrong track, right? And that's what he told me directly as someone who is essentially one of his right-hand men. And Favreau has played this horrible situation he's been thrown into with much aplomb and a lot of Machiavellian genius, right, in my opinion. He has undermined the very people that are undermining him. My personal opinion is by pulling an entire show, because I'm sure Lucasfilm and Captain Kennedy said, well, we don't need Gina. It's about the Rangers. So bring in some new characters and make them Rangers. And he said, no, we're just going to pull this off your slate, right, that we're developing because you took our elite actress away. Personally, if watching what he's been doing, I think that is a pressure tactic to make them fold on Gina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So we'll see.
That's good.
Yes.
Favreau's
Also, going back to the Gina Carano stuff, KK was doing her nut about the Bear Grylls program.
She was
Why?
upset about it, huh? That it got out?
Yeah.
Why was she? Why would you be? Never mind, KK. Never mind.
Well,
I mean, how
it's
sad
literally
is
her
it?
falling down the reactor shaft screaming at this point.
Was she going, no?
Done. Favreau took care of it. He's like, and so we're just watching the long, plummeting down.
I'll never understand the people who look, you can disagree with someone and you can disagree with their views and what they stand for and the principles and everything else, even though we all know Gina Carano didn't do anything majorly bad here, but you can disagree with all that. Why go to the sheer extent people have gone to cancel someone, to make sure they're removed from a show, that they never work again, that they're blacklisted, that they're blocked out? I mean,
religion.
Publicly blacklisted as well.
Do you know what? It's almost like they're trying to appeal to the younger folk, but it's so childish. And I say that as someone who's just bought a Kenner Empire look.
Well, what it is there's a panic. Gina created a panic around the woke elements of the industry because she wasn't James Woods was out there being political and he got his ass kicked and they just dismissed him as crazy Trumper. She never talked about her personal politics. We don't really know who she voted for. All we know is that she has integrity about beliefs and she makes fun of them. And that's the one thing they can't handle is that the beep bop boop. The reaction was so extreme because she made fun of them and people laughed. And people like this can't handle being laughed at. It is the most terrifying thing for them because their entire ideology will collapse if you start laughing at it. That's why she's such a threat, because she just makes fun of them. She treats them like, oh, little doggy, how funny you are. They can't handle that. They have to get rid of her for that reason.
Well,
another rumor was KK is effectively off the Star Wars gig, and
please,
she's still involved with Indiana Jones. Is that right? But
yeah, she's going to do one last destruction of our dreams before she goes. She's got one song.
I think that, especially my opinion is Mr. Chapek is cleaning house, especially that new article that came on Variety said he's like bumping heads, right? That was all signaled to tell everybody in the town that he's taking control and that he's taking control away from the creatives, as Ms. Kennedy would like to deem herself. So I think Indiana Jones is going to be heavily noted. I think our fear that it's going to become a woke garbage movie is not going to be what the final version is. I don't think Chapek's going to allow it.
Right.
I don't think he will.
Good on Mr. Paycheck. Good on him. Let's hoping he does something.
Yeah.
There does seem to be a little kind of, a bit of a change in this. I mean, you think there's an article come out this week from Screen Rant. Now, Screen Rant is probably one of the biggest shill sites on the go. And they did an article this week. The headline was, "Why the Mandalorian is more key to Disney's new Star Wars canon than the sequels."
Wow.
I think that tells you something.
Yeah.
When the shill sites, they figured out, because they're shills, right? And so when they figure out that the person paying the bills is no longer that person, they flew with it.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that article? You know,
I'll send you the link if you want.
Was it bromance? Bromance? What is it? There's nothing wrong with hugging your best friend and kissing them. I remember reading what the hell's that all about?
Oh yeah,
What's going on there? Jesus.
Well, is the point that not every bromance is inherently sexual? Like, I mean, we're at this place where two guys. Remember the old '80s movies where two guys would go off and fight the world, like Beverly Hills Cop or whatever. You know, now they got to be lovers. If they're two guys on screen, they got to be lovers. Why are we making this jump?
So, that report on the Powerpuff Girls? There was a report on the Powerpuff Girls. They pulled it, didn't they? The live action version.
Yeah, they're rewriting it. They're rewriting it. Apparently, I've worked at the CW a few times, worked there 3 times already, and they're a pretty woke network. I've been there. Yeah. I got to really be careful what I say when I'm there. But I think even they have figured out, this ain't, this.
We're loving Superman at the moment.
But they read out the script. I think it was on Clownfish TV. They read out the script that they abandoned, where 2 of them were sleeping with each other and stuff like that. And it's crazy, right? Well, I don't understand where all this is coming from. No. Hey man, I'm English.
It's coming from ideologues. It's coming from ideologues like when I left earlier, which is about the politics of the moment, right? And but it's interesting because I believe the politics of that moment are unraveling. Interesting enough, as the man that they thought would be the champion for them has come into power in the United States, right? And it's exactly at that moment when they don't have the Orange Man as the adversary that the whole thing is unraveling.
I don't understand American politics.
Yeah,
I don't understand UK politics either.
You want to understand American politics? There's, there was this famous, I believe it was Rousseau, right? The famous writer, French writer who traveled America in the 1800s, and he came back and he said, essentially, the American system is set up to reward the dumbest people. It's set up is that the way the republic functions is it gives power to the dumbest people in the populace.
Maybe I should move there.
Well, at this moment, it's a good time to announce I'm going into politics, everybody. I feel I'm perfectly qualified. I've thought about it.
With your $500 million new Netflix deal, I'm sure you can pay for your campaign.
Absolutely.
Not a problem.
I will say, if I may, I will say to Cameron, with the American politics, it's very much vice president in waiting, isn't it?
It is, but at the same time, this whole cast of characters that came into office in January is made them so not credible in the last few months that it's just a clown show now. And I say this, and I wasn't a Trump supporter. I had my issues with him, but now it's even at least like. It is the clown show that people thought the Trump years were. Okay? Yeah. And that's what this is right now. This is just buffoonery of the most extreme kind. They don't know what they're doing. It's literally the most incompetent people, in charge. So that's actually not sustainable. At least during Bush may have been incompetent, but he had like this evil, Cheney guy who was competent at his evil objectives, right? And he was competent at it. There's nobody in that administration that's competent, right? Yeah. They're all a bunch of buffoons. And so it's not going to go anywhere, I think.
I will say the final point from Doomcock's video was apparently Mr. Lucas was back at Lucasfilm with a meeting with Paycheck and Igor. Apparently about putting some of his own money back into Star Wars and Ruin, you're not going to like this, mate. Are you sitting comfortably? Because this is going to be a hammer blow. This is going to be so bad. Listen.
Let me prepare myself.
What I would do, my friend, is the clock on the wall at the background. Instead of having it on the time of The Last Jedi, I would put it to 23:41 when your career was ended. Apparently, they want Lucas to write a new trilogy and put his own money into it as well.
Whoa.
So you can kiss the trilogy goodbye, my friend. 23:41. Remember the time.
So, I don't know if he'll do that. Will he do that?
So I've been saying this for 3 years. I've been saying for 3 years now that George Lucas will buy back Lucasfilm at a discount. I've
For
been
a
saying
dollar.
that for 3 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, because they
For a
did.
dollar.
They did that with the
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers. They
Yeah.
you know they the gentleman that owned it sold it off for $1 billion, bought it back 10 years later after Disney destroyed the property at $100 million. So he made a $900 million profit off of that,
Wow.
right? And so it was Haim Saban, right? So I said that 3 years ago. I said that to a business school class that this is what's going to happen, and people thought I was crazy. I said Lucas is worth $5 to $6 billion. He sold it for
$7 billion.
Thank you, $7 billion. He sold it for $4 billion. I said he's going to buy it back for about $1 billion or less, right? And and it's going to be ultimately, yes, his baby got damaged. His baby was damaged for a decade, but but he's going to fix his legacy before he passes. I believe that, and I absolutely believe that he's going to take full control of the company, even if not publicly known. He'll be the guy behind the scenes, putting his legacy people in charge.
Luke is the
Hope
future,
so.
isn't he?
That sounds
Well,
great.
A message to
You've
George.
got no future, by the
Message
way.
to George.
Message to George. If you're listening, George, let's get this straight.
No, I'm going
If
to
you're
remove you from the
writing-
stream, mate, if you're begging.
If you're writing a trilogy, George Lucas, I just want you to know, if you need a director, I'm available. I can leave Knives Out, and we'll focus on.
I will say this, Ruin. You are actually a very good director. You shouldn't be anywhere near a script.
It's
If you're
true.
given a good script,
Oh, yeah.
you're very
Oh,
good
yeah.
at that. And if you were to film a George Lucas script, it would be a good movie. I believe that. Just stay away from the script.
Okay. Well, we'll see about that. You know what I like to do with my characters and how I like to embarrass them on set.
Yeah,
so I'm
that's why
sure I
we
can.
don't let you touch the script. We don't let you touch the script. But if you're given a good script, you know how to film. I believe that. You may not believe that, but I do. I believe in you, Ruin.
Visually stunning, morally corrupt.
And on that note, gentlemen, I do actually have to wind out because I've got my next meeting getting ready. So I don't know if you guys are going to continue on.
We're about to finish, mate. So cheers, Cameron.
Thanks,
I will
Cameron.
say
Cheers, Cameron.
we,
All the best.
we do a
Goodbye.
Saturday night show late afternoon your time. If you ever want to come on and kind of chew the fat with us over the week, you're more than welcome to come on, mate.
Drop me a DM, and it all depends on my schedule when I'm running around doing stuff on the weekends. But if I'm able to, I'd love to. I've enjoyed our time here. I'm sorry that I keep coming in and out, and for really wonderful people that I've enjoyed. I've interacted with pretty much most of you on Twitter. And again, Ruin, this has been a moment that I've been waiting for as long as I was waiting for this new
There you
trilogy. And it wasn't as disappointing as that.
Excellent.
The pleasure was ours, mate. So we do thank you all.
Take care, Cameron. It's been
Cheers,
a pleasure.
Cameron. See you later, mate.
Man, bye-bye.
And he's out.
Right, guys, shall we call it a draw there? Yes, 2 hours and a bit. Yes. So I will just say,
Good fun.
yeah, I will just say to everybody in the chat and who are watching this on catch up, thanks for taking the time for either watching us on repeat or being in the chat, because as I always say, we are nothing without you guys in the chat. So I will just thank the guests, the MegaGeek. Thank you, my friend.
Cheers, ears.
Demon, cheers, pal.
Thank you. Thank everybody. And thanks for the birthday wishes as well. Thank you.
Happy
Oh,
birthday,
yeah.
pal.
Happy birthday.
Man,
Happy
baby.
Brian Young with your amazing mic. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks a lot for the invite. It's been brilliant. It really has.
If, as I say, if you want to come on one of these Saturdays, feel free, mate.
Yeah,
if you're not,
absolutely
if you're
love
not
to,
pissed
yeah.
up down Wetherspoons in Glasgow, you're more than welcome. Yeah, you're more than welcome to
that'd be
come
great.
on, mate.
Honestly, that'd be great. Thank you.
And we will just say a big thank you to the main man himself, the guy who makes all this happen. Sometimes in a positive way, sometimes in a negative way. I'm sure we're going to see more of him in the future. The amazing man baby himself, Ruin. No more trilogies. They've gone. Johnson. Cheers,
I
Anthony.
had it
Thank you, my
all
friend.
written out as well. What a shame. No, thank you. Cheers, Mr. Brown. Cheers, boys. Always an absolute pleasure and really good fun. And you know what? What a great couple of hours just to reminisce about the good old Star Wars. Really enjoyed it.
Actually, I don't think I'm following you. I think I should follow you on Twitter. Don't really go on Twitter, but why am I following you? I can't remember. I don't know.
Join the Man Baby Army.
Yes. I will just say, Ruin, before we go, just make sure you time index the clock on the wall. So I think it was 23:42 when you realise you're not getting your trilogy. So
the day the trilogy died.
What are you, Anthony? What are you under? Is it Ruin Johnson or is it just Anthony something?
Ruin the Man Baby is my Twitter handle.
Great. Okay, no worries. I'll find you.
So I'll just say to everybody again in the chat, thanks for taking your time to pop in. I think the kind of Lucasfilm KK stuff probably has just got going. So it'll be interesting to see what the future brings. So I'll just say to everybody, thank you, and we'll just finish it there on 2 hours 10. So we will hopefully see you probably Saturday night if anybody fancies popping in. So take care, everybody. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye, man babies.
Take care, man babies.